Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello.
Just letting everyone in here.
Hi.
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 So nice to see everyone. And we're just going to wait one more minute for people to trickle in. It's nice to see so many faces. If you can keep your videos on, that's always really lovely. And you'll have opportunities to ask questions or answer questions or participate. We love that. There'll probably be times when we'll ask you to mute your mics. So I don't know if you know where it is, but it's just at the bottom of your screen on the left. And then you can either type your questions or your answers in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and answer us. All right. Well, I think let's get started. It's 2 o'clock on the dot. And whoever isn't here yet can join us. Yeah. All right. So today, as you know, your webinar is going to be on joint pain. We're going to talk about some of the contributors of joint pain and how to mitigate some of these factors. We're going to ask you about some of your experiences with this issue, and we're hopefully going to give you some hope with strategies. Sound good? All right. So you can go to the next one, Anna.
Okay, I was just not cooperating, but I think we're good now.
Okay, so some of you know us very well. Some of you might be new to the vintage fitness world, but just to let you know a little bit about us and our company. Vintage Fitness was established in 2005. So we've been at it 20 years now, helping seniors get fitter and have a better quality of life through personal training in home in the Greater Toronto area and beyond. We've also now expanded to include a lot more virtual training, as well as fall prevention programs and other group exercise programs designed specifically for seniors. So all of our trainers are older adult fitness specialized. And we do focus on results, but we focus on results over time. So not like a quick fix solution, but more of a lifestyle change, and it takes time to do so. All right. Let's keep on moving. So my name's Leigh. I'm the owner of Vintage Fitness. The company was founded by Aaron Bilowitz in 2005, and I'm the proud owner now. I have a degree in kin from Western. Hopefully we have some Western people here today. At that point, I took a class in physiology of activity and aging and learned how much we could get back at an older age in terms of strength and vitality. And I was blown away by this research. So I went on to study as a seniors fitness instructor, then learned to train that course, and went on to do a couple other fun things along the way of being a full-time trainer for seniors in group and one-on-one settings. And I want to introduce to you today my co-host, Anna Ferrer. She's one of our wonderful personal trainers at Vintage Fitness. She's been with Vintage Fitness longer than me. She's a registered kinesiologist with a focus on seniors' health, and she draws on her background in exercise rehab to ensure safe, effective, and fun exercise sessions. Anna is one of our biggest contributors to our Vintage Fitness trainer education programs, which we do within our group every month, and is also one of our regular presenters for these Vintage Fitness webinars that we do with you, the community, every 6 to 8 weeks. If you have any suggestions on topics for the future, we love to hear them. We're always looking for new ideas and what you want to hear about. Okay, so this webinar is for you if you want to prevent joint pain, if you're already experiencing some joint pain and you want to see if there's a way to slow that down, and particularly if joint pain is preventing you from living your best life. So if the stiffness or pain around your joints is preventing you from doing things that you need to do or would like to do, we're hoping we can help you here today. Today's topics, we're going to talk about number one, the causes of joint pain. I'm sure many of you will be familiar with some of the major causes, but we'll just give you a few more details about them and hopefully point you in the right direction if you need more information on those causes. And then we're going to tell you lifestyle strategies to prevent further further pain, and then exercises to support the joints and short-term pain management. And just to let you know as well, we are going to be recording this whole webinar. So if for some reason you needed to pop out, we're going to send you the recording for sure. Or if you have someone in your life that you would like to share this with, you will be getting the link later. You can also go back to see any of this later, so you don't need to take notes unless you really want to. Okay, so what are the common causes of joint pain? Number one, well, arthritis is a big cause of joint pain, and osteoarthritis is the most common one, affecting millions of Canadians. It is known as wear and tear arthritis, and it affects mostly the hands, knees, hips, and spine. It's characterized by pain and stiffness and tenderness, also loss of flexibility. And you can also feel this one if you feel like a grating in the joints, where you might feel like a popping sensation. And sometimes you can get bone spurs around the joints, like hard lumps around the joints, and sometimes swelling, which can be soft tissue inflammation around the joint. This is more common with people who are aging. So this could be one that's developed a little bit later. And interestingly enough, it affects females far more than men. Another risk factor is obesity. So keeping your weight at a healthy level is very beneficial. Another risk factor can be joint injuries, repeated stress on the joint. And then, of course, genetics can also play a factor in whether or not you deal with osteoarthritis, and certain diseases can also contribute. I'm sure we probably have people in the room that are dealing with this type of osteoarthritis, and it really does work on a spectrum. So we're going to show you how to keep it at bay. Inflammatory arthritis is another group of conditions within the arthritis realm. This one is more systemic as it affects the whole body. And some examples include gout, rheumatoid arthritis, and ankylosing spondylitis. It's characterized by stiffness, pain, and sometimes joint damage. And you can even change shape of the joints and develop some deformity in the joint. And there are some further risk factors to inflammatory arthritis in that it can also spread and affect other organs. All right. Another common cause of joint pain is, of course, acute injury. So assuming that you go through the proper realm of rehabilitation, you should be able to get past that one without a lot of the things we're talking about today. Any questions so far? Okay, good stuff. Let's keep going. So we always love to pull out the Canadian statistics so that you know where you stand. 1 in 5 Canadians have arthritis. That's a pretty high number as it is. But 1 in 2 adults over the age of 65 have arthritis. 50%. Now, this encompasses all the different types of arthritis. Arthritis is the most common chronic health condition in Canada. As I mentioned, it's more common in females than males. And over 40% of people with arthritis have pain severe enough to limit activity. So this is a serious concern. And, we do have a lot of clients in our world as we deal with a 50 plus population, but most of our clients are over 65. So I know we've got Sid on here today. Sid, you talk to all the clients that come in to Vintage Fitness period. So you know what everyone's dealing with. And I'm just wondering if you could give us a guesstimate on how many people say they're dealing with joint pain when they come into the company.
Sure. I would say the people that call us, it could be as high as 70% have some level of joint pain. So some are very severe. That's a much lower number. But people who are, I've asked them what's going on with them health-wise, then for sure joint pain comes up as one of the issues, even if it's more mild and less important in the goals that they have in working with us. So definitely would say 70% of the people are mentioning joint pain in my opening call with them.
Okay, that makes sense. And yeah, good point, because it might not be the only factor that they're talking about to you. It might be one of several, but yeah, good to know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, so we're going to start talking about strategies, and then in a little while, I'm going to introduce Anna. We're going to go over some specific exercises, and we're going to tell you why these particular types of exercises are going to be helpful for you, regardless of what type of joint pain you're experiencing or someone in your life is experiencing. And so, number one, you know what we're going to say for strategies for resolving joint pain, because you know where we're coming from. Personal trainers for seniors. uh, Exercise. Exercise is always recommended, almost always recommended. And the interesting thing is, exercise with arthritis, it's tough to use pain as a guide, because with arthritis, when you are moving, sometimes you have more pain and discomfort after you move. Um, but then what you'll notice is it helps to dissipate it over time in general. Um, with the inflammatory arthritis, it's very important to keep the inflammation under control, and the earlier you catch it, the better on that front. Um, but exercise such as cycling and walking can be really great. Tai Chi and yoga, these are all gentle ways to move. But very importantly too, um, to support the structures, to support the joints, you want to have strong muscles and strong bones. Um, so some strength training in there as well. And we're going to talk about safe strength training, especially as you go further on in the pain process. Um, Exercise also helps increase blood flow and bring nutrients to the joints. There are some other nutrition and lifestyle changes that you can get behind, and some of these will be maybe recommended by your doctor. As I mentioned, reducing inflammation in the body to aid in joint pain, especially with inflammatory arthritis, is very, very important. And the earlier you can catch it, the better. So if you're dealing with joint pain and you don't know what type of arthritis it is or what's going on, it's best to get a look at it with your doctor, maybe get some imaging. They can use x-rays or MRIs to determine what type it is, and then that can help you with how you deal with it as well. I mentioned earlier, weight management can really help
Do you want to go back
to
to
reduce
Yeah.
the amount of pain.
Move that.
And
I'm gonna help, okay? Yep. You want me-
another lifestyle one, oh, sorry, I'm just going to mute you all here. Okay. Another lifestyle one is smoking, because smoking causes toxins that can increase inflammation and affect the connective tissue. Anna, did you want to speak to the modifying activities of daily living and just moving with purpose?
For sure. You can hear me, right? Okay. Yeah, perfect. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't muted as well. Yeah, so I think a big part of that is just, when you are doing your activities of daily living, trying to make sure that you have, proper posture, and that you're doing the activity in the most ergonomically sound way as possible. And then, some activities might aggravate your joint pain. So either modifying, so making it easier, smaller range of motion, doing it in such a way that doesn't cause pain or compromise your body functioning, or in some cases, avoiding it altogether for either a short period of time, or if it's not a necessary activity, just cutting it out or finding a better way to do it. So yeah, it's hard to get really specific there, unless we're talking about a specific example, but really just making movement work for you instead of against you.
I love that. Yeah. And it's important to note that that is going to look different for each person, but I really appreciate that description. Thank you. We do have to adapt, as you all know here, as we age. Sometimes we collect things. Sometimes we have something that we're dealing with for a time. And setbacks are totally a part of, aging. And we think it's so amazing to watch our clients overcome these setbacks and then just continue on. But during that time, there's always an adaptation around the issues before you can, I guess sometimes get back to full functioning, or close to. So adaptation is the name of the game. We're just going to move on to short-term pain management strategies. Your doctor can help you with a lot of these kind of things, but there are, ways to help with pain. Things like using assistive devices to take some of the pressure off the joints that are hurting. Other assistive devices like having a bench in the shower, things like that to take a load off. But cold and anti-inflammatory gels, things like that can sometimes help. The doctors sometimes recommend other strategies like injections, cortisone or lubrication. And these can be helpful in the short term. And then, especially if you're trying to decide whether surgery is required or that kind of thing, these are things to try first. All righty.
Seems to
Oh yeah, and rest. Rest was another one there, of course. And finding that right balance between how much to push and how much to rest is so different all the time too. And it's such a tricky one. Yes, but we keep trying. We keep trying to figure it out. All right. So now we have a little study just to share with you. A meta-analysis by Lim, Choi, and Kim, 2024, found that resistance training helped to decrease pain and improve strength and functioning with those with hip and knee osteoarthritis. So that is really positive news. And we're going to get to finding out specifically what exercises could be recommended for most of these things causing joint pain. Obviously, we can get into more specifics when we're dealing with you one-on-one or even in a smaller group. But we hope you'll ask us questions if you have further ones after this. Mary says, speaking of rest, I find that my joints are stiffest when I get up after resting. Yes. Anybody else feel that way? Yeah. So that's very, very true. And you have to gently get back into it with a little bit of movement after the rest. You don't want to rest for too long, right? All right. Thanks, Mary.
No. Did it again. Sometimes it
Six.
Yeah, it won't let you do it. And then, yeah. Okay. Anyways. Okay, here
It's
we are.
okay.
And I think I'm gonna be taking over from you here now, Leigh.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks.
Awesome. So this will kind of speak to what I believe it was Mary, what you were talking about as well, and the why behind why your joints will be, stiffest when you haven't been moving. And just generally, I'd recommend, as Leigh said, either, try not to rest for extended period of times, or you can also do kind of like modified rest. So like if you're sitting on the couch watching TV, you can still do a little bit of motion depending on the joint. So if it was your knee, just like straightening, bending the knee, even just a small range of motion, just to keep that lubrication going. So we wanted to kind of explain, what is this motion is lotion that, you will hear people saying. So most of the joints in our body are classified as synovial joints. So what that really means is they have a bunch of different characteristics that make them a synovial joint. But the main one for us to keep in mind is that they have a joint cavity that has synovial fluid in it. And what happens is when we move the joint, we compress the joint, the fluid actually rushes out of the joint and then bathes the entire joint in nutrients. So the synovial fluid is like kind of like a water-based substance. It comes mostly like originally from our blood and is then changed into the synovial fluid. So it has lots of different nutrients in it. So that's really the meaning behind motion is lotion. When we move, we are actually getting lotion for our joints because the fluid is rushing out of the joint cavity and bathing our joints in fluid. So that's why if you're not moving, you're not getting that nutrition, that moisture, you will get more stiff. And depending on the type of arthritis, even more so. Okay. So kind of a little bit about, we touched on this earlier about modifying those activities of daily living. So we're just going to chat about it a little bit more. The big thing is we actually don't want to, completely avoid things and go into total rest because as you said, usually the joints get stiffer, usually they get worse. So really trying to maintain those activities as much as possible. The thing is though, sometimes we want to decrease the range of motion. So, say we are used to squatting down to, pick things up, and we're finding that our knees are getting really, they're really inflamed, they're really not doing well, trying to see if there are other ways, can we squat down part of the way and then use an assistive device to, get what we need, stuff like that. So, still moving, but moving in a smaller range of motion is usually going to be beneficial to, helping with the joint pain. And then over time, our joints will allow us to do more and more, and we'll be able to regain that range of motion. But that initial decreasing of range of motion, I've seen really positive results with that. And again, really important, we always want to make sure we're moving, properly. So trying to have, proper posture, proper ergonomics when we're doing movements. And that's going to help make sure that we're not unevenly putting the force through our joints and causing more wear on them. All right, so we wanted to talk a little bit about the benefits of isometric exercises because a lot of the exercises we're going to go over are isometric in nature. So just to kind of explain to you what isometric is. So isometric is when you contract the muscle without changing the length. So that's usually kind of like a contract and hold sort of movement. And the reason that this is beneficial is because we can work on the strength without having additional wear on the joint because we're not moving through that full range of motion. So it's not going to have as much impact on the joint. It can allow us to target specific problem muscles. There is kind of mixed research about whether or not it can help decrease pain specifically. So for some people, it might have a little bit of an analgesic effect. but the research isn't totally consistent on this. But I have seen some people who have found, that helps decrease their pain. So, it might help some people. Something just fell off my desk. I apologize for the loud sound there. And it is a low risk starting point. So again, we're not we're not having a lot of impact as we move. So we're getting that strength without the additional wear. So it is very low risk. And it's also very difficult to do isometrics wrong. And you're, completely in control. So from that standpoint as well, very low risk. All right, so we're going to go through some of the exercises. We're not going to go too much in depth with them, but if you do have any questions, let us know. So for knee pain, quad sets are a good one. So you put a roll towel and you put it underneath your knee, and then you're going to lie. You can either sit half up, like your chest up, and then your legs extended, or you can lie all the way down. And what you're doing is you're pushing your knee into the towel to contract the quad muscle, so the muscle in the front of your thigh. And you're going to hold for a few seconds and then relax and then repeat that. So that's a good starting point there. That's a pretty common one as well. Like if you have any sort of knee surgeries, they'll get you to do that before or after. Similar is the isometric hamstring contraction. So this one we're working on the back of the thigh. So what we're going to do is, sit just like in this photo here. We're going to have our knee slightly bent and we're digging our heel into the ground, kind of like pulling back as if we were bringing our heel towards our bum. And that's going to contract the muscle on the back of the thigh. Same thing, hold for a few seconds, relax. And the big thing too, as we talk about exercise, especially with arthritis, is we don't want to have any sharp pain. So there might be a little bit of discomfort, and that can be normal when we are working through arthritis, as Leigh kind of mentioned earlier. There might be a little bit of discomfort, but that's different than like a sharp ouch. So we don't really want to get to that sharp ouch. We just want to, have some movement. If we have a little bit of discomfort is okay. But we don't want to have any sharp pain, any numbness and tingling. That's usually signs that we're doing too much. And that's especially important with inflammatory arthritis. So we want to make sure we're staying below the threshold of kind of like too much. There was something.
Absolutely. Oh, I was going to say something about isometric hamstring contraction, that picture there. You definitely want to feel the hamstrings working, right? The back of the leg. So, but it's really great because you can decide how hard you want to push down with your heel on that one before you start to try and pull it in. If you did that even from your chair right now, where you put your heel on the floor and then like drag it in a little bit, you'd notice that. And so if you don't feel anything at first, you could maybe press a little harder and so on. But yes, definitely scale it back if any sharper shooting pain.
We did have a question in the chat from Marilyn, or kind of like, I guess, a comment question about if it's better to contract the muscle or stretch the muscle. In terms of, building strength and supporting the joint tissues, we want to use the muscles. So in that case, we want to, contract the muscles, have them activate so we can build that strength and support around the joint. That's not to say that stretching is bad, but it's different. So we want to stretch to increase flexibility. That can help, again, with the joint pain and moving through a range of motion. So a dynamic movement is going to help with, again, kind of that flexibility aspect as well. But in terms of strength, we want to do either kind of a holding contraction, is that isometric. That's going to be kind of like your level one, very easy to do. But not to say that we wouldn't do other kinds of exercises. Like even if you have knee pain, we might get you to do squats or a chair sit to stand. And again, we'd probably just modify the range of motion to start. So starting with a smaller range of motion and see how that's tolerated. So that was a really good question there. Hopefully that's.
Yeah, really good question. Yeah. So yes, both. Contract the muscles to support the joints, and then you can stretch them as well for some joint pain relief. Good question, Marilyn.
just want to make sure. Okay, perfect. Whenever I do anything on Zoom, like let anyone in, then it messes with this. So that's the problem there. Okay, so hip exercises, we have 2 here for you as well. They're both isometrics as well. So as I said, today we're kind of just focusing on isometrics because they're, you know, very easy, good starting point. But of course, if you're working with a vintage fitness trainer, they're going to give you even more resources as well. So we have lots of resources on our YouTube and Instagram page as well. So a good one is a ball squeeze. So we're going to put the ball between our knees and we're lying on our back. We could do it sitting as well. And you're squeezing in to squish the ball. And you should feel it on the inner thighs there. So that's a good one. Again, hold for a few seconds and relax. Important, as I say, hold, make sure we're not holding our breath as well. We want to make sure we're still breathing.
Good one.
So kind of the opposite here, we have a isometric clamshell. So we're going to put the band around our knees and we're pushing out now instead of in. And then once we're in this out position, we can hold it there for a few seconds and then relax. With these ones, I like to hold for a little bit longer, more like 30 seconds for that clamshell. But the wall squeezes, you can hold for a few seconds at a time, relax and repeat. So those are 2 good starting points for hip pain. For shoulder pain, basically isometrics with all ranges of motion of the shoulder. So here we have most of them shown. So we're going to use a wall and a towel just to protect your hand. And you'll put the towel against the wall and then your hand over top of it. So for flexion, we're pushing forward. Okay, easier to do with the bent arm. For extension, we're going to put the towel behind our elbow and we're pulling backwards into the wall. For abduction, we're going to put the towel on the side. We're pushing out to the side. So all of these, you want to think like you're actually doing the motion, and that's how you're going to get the proper activation. So think like even though your arm isn't going to move, think like you're trying to raise it out to the side. For the external rotation is instead of pushing out like this, we're trying to rotate around. So kind of think more like your elbow and forearm, your forearm is moving. So that's what we're trying to do with that one. For internal rotation would be the opposite. We want to be against the wall pulling in. Okay. So those are all the major shoulder ranges of motion there. For the wrist, we can use our opposite hand. If you have something like inflammatory arthritis where you have, both wrists or you have osteoarthritis in both wrists, this one, I would say just caution, because sometimes in using one hand for resistance, we can kind of overdo it and hurt ourselves. So if that is the case, you can just use a lightweight instead. But start really nice and light. But for wrist flexion, we're trying to bring the wrist up. So we would use the opposite hand to push down while we're trying to pull up. For wrist extension, the opposite, we're trying to pull up and we're using the hand to prevent pulling up. And then, I actually have a lightweight right here. So I'll just show you if that wasn't comfortable or you were finding you're hurting the opposite side, you could use a lightweight. You want to have the elbow supported, and then we're going to bring it up. And because we're doing isometrics, we're just going to hold it here. And we would hold it for about 30 seconds. Okay. And then same thing when we're doing the pushing, we're holding that push. So we're not moving through that range of motion. Towel scrunch. This one is technically not an isometric, but it's another good starting point. So we're just going to have a towel and we're scrunching up our hands. So we're working on some of those small muscles of the hand, and then we can even push it back out. So again, that's going to get some motion into those small little joints, because our hands have lots of little tiny muscles that can get irritated and weak.
Well, that's a good one. While you're at it with the towel scrunch, you can do some towel scrunches with your toes in and out as well. So great for fall prevention and building the sensory information in your feet.
Very true. Very true.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And we're going to chat about a success story. So this is a client of mine that I used to work with, and they are still a Vintage Fitness client today. They are working with a new trainer currently because they, we weren't able to continue with my scheduling. But we had a really awesome time together, Dell and I. So Dell does have an inflammatory arthritis condition, as well as other issues. And, they originally came to us, we'll say sort of by force. Their wife was like, enough is enough. We got to do this. And when he first came to me, he was having trouble, even just getting up and down from a chair. And so we were able to increase a lot of mobility, a lot of strength. And I remember the last kind of times we worked together, every time we would do any sort of squat or anything, or get up from a chair, he'd be like, look how easy this is. But I wanted to, bring to attention, especially with him, kind of a cool aspect of working together is, he was able to work with me even through some of his flare-ups. And that's the thing, I think when you're working with the right trainer, they can modify the exercises to help when you're in a painful joint state, as opposed to making it worse. And it goes back to that modifying the activity. So we do want to get that blood flow, but of course, if the tissue is really inflamed, we don't want to add any joint damage. So even just doing some active range of motion, just moving through the joints, doing some of those isometrics, stuff like that, really small ranges of motion, and then just getting the blood flow, that can really make a big difference in helping decrease some of the inflammation and manage it, and then also be able to progress even when you do have those kind of flare-ups. So we saw some really great results in decreasing his overall joint pain, reducing the frequency of flare-ups, and then it was kind of cool for him to be like, oh, we can actually do something even though I'm in pain, and this can actually help. So really, really awesome experience there, and he's still doing awesome things with Vintage Fitness. So very proud of him. All right, I'll hand it over to you, Leigh.
Okay, thank you, Anna. That's really nice to go over a case study there. And really, we have a lot of examples of people, showing up even when, they're really not feeling well, and wondering whether there's even anything you can do. And most of the time, people are very surprised, again, with the right trainer, to show you, oh, there's lots you can do still, trust me. So we do find that most of our clients will show up in the most amazing circumstances with like maybe a huge setback, what some other people might shy away from trying in, and we can support you there. And we'll show you what you can do. All right. So we're just going to kind of wrap up a little bit with some of the prevention strategies we touched on before. And then we can ask you any questions you can still have for us. So as Anna mentioned earlier on, we want to be really mindful about how we move. So even if you're doing your own thing right now, cycling, walking, Tai Chi, yoga, these are nice, slow movement type things. If you're using the isometrics, you can notice how much pain you're feeling and use that as a gauge to back off or ramp it up. But also using the proper posture whenever you're moving. So really thinking about, is your head over your shoulders, over your hips, over your feet? Things like that, and trying to use both sides evenly, not compensating, on one side too much. If you find you're doing that, you can use the assistive device a little bit more, things like that. Listening to your body, and stop if you're getting any of that sharp or shooting pain. With some of these conditions, there will be, as we mentioned, some discomfort and sometimes some pain, which can dissipate over time with consistent movement routines. And avoid repetitive movements where possible that aggravate the joint that's already aggravated. And then, as we sort of touched on before, choosing low impact movements, especially to start, and gradually working your way up from there to see if higher impact movements might be appropriate for you. They may or may not. And we can help you determine that as well. I know some of you are vintage fitness clients already. Some of you may be looking into it. And so we'd love to help you with that. Absolutely. And I just wanted to circle back to Sid, actually, when you mentioned that about 70% of the people that come in mention joint pain as a problem for them. How many would you say on the next check-in have found some relief from their joint pain?
That's a good question. When I check in with people, usually they're very, very happy. So they may still have some joint pain. They don't mention it because they've made so much progress towards their goals in other areas, and maybe there's been joint pain. I'd have to guess, to be on the safe side, at least 50% have got have eliminated that pain or begun the process of eliminating that pain. Definitely, if people were really unhappy and we didn't deliver what they've asked for and what they'd hope we would give them, I haven't had a single call like that. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you, Sid.
You're welcome.
I do find that in my own experience with working with seniors for 20 years too, is that like a lot of people don't realize how much the right kind of exercise can help minimize the pain. And again, the earlier you catch it, the better. So that's the good news that we have for you today.
Yeah. And I'd like to add kind of just to what you were saying, just there with the right kind of movement. That's the other thing too, is if something is causing pain when you're doing movement, try and modify it, do a smaller range of motion, or try an alternative. So that's really the big thing. There are so many different ways to move. So just keeping that in mind is really huge there as well. I did also want to just note, when we're talking about being mindful of high impact movements are going to put more pressure on the joints, but the kind of counter to it is that high impact movements are good for the bones, which we just did a webinar on that recently. So it's really knowing the right time to do high impact movements. And when you're, in a highly inflamed state, it's probably not the right time. So again, that's something that can be determined with your trainer. But just wanted to make that connection there, that we're not saying high impact movements are necessarily bad, because they do have great benefits for our bone health, but it's just figuring out the right timing and the right exercise for you in terms of where you're at.
Yeah, definitely. Good point. And on the spectrum, like high impact is on a spectrum. It could be like high impact could be like climbing stairs, and then it could be running, it could be jumping, so yeah, good point.
So we did have a question in the chat here, Leigh.
Yeah.
Was asking about in working with a trainer, is there any advice given about diet, type of runners? I'm presuming you mean shoes there. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Did you want to take that question, or would you like me to?
Yeah, I can take it. Absolutely. Thanks, Marilyn. Yeah, with the trainer, we don't always do nutrition coaching. That can generally be added on the side, but that's available through Vintage Fitness as well. And then in terms of types of shoes, we can help you with that to some degree, but it depends on if you have like orthotics or need extra support or that kind of thing. But absolutely, you can talk to your trainer about it. Did you want to add to anything about that to the question, Anna?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, most of our trainers are quite well versed in things like nutrition to some degree, but as Leigh said, for more like super detailed help on that, we can offer additional services, and it'll be trainer specific as to where their where their scope of practice is and how comfortable they are in giving you advice on nutrition.
Absolutely. So yeah, if that was something that you wanted when you were coming in to work with us, then you could mention that as something you would also like, and we can help you find a trainer with those qualifications. And we wanted to add the references and resources that were used in the making of this presentation, so they're all there for you. And now it's time for you to let us know if you have any more questions for us today. We're so happy you were able to take the time out to join us today live. And as I mentioned, we're going to be giving you a recording of the presentation. You can watch it again or share it with someone who might benefit. And we appreciate the participation throughout. If you definitely had any questions after and you can't think of them right now, that's okay. You can also let us know by email. Oh, wow. Someone from the UK. Okay. Hi, welcome. Will we be able to send some hip exercises? We'll definitely send the ones in the presentation here, and then we can chat a little bit more through email. Thank you for your message, Pradanya, and thanks for coming all the way from the UK. And then Mary Wiseman says, just a comment, some medications result in joint pain as a side effect. Very true. Yes, and certain diseases do as well, like diabetes and other diseases. Okay. Anna, do you want to take Janet's question here?
So the question is, how do you gauge how many isometric exercises to do at one time? I would say it kind of depends, as it does in most cases. Isometrics are generally quite safe, not overly fatiguing, and you are the one creating all the force. So you can usually do quite a good amount. I always say use your body as your guide. So if you're finding that you're doing, more of the same exercise and you're not able to produce the same amount of force that you were before, your body's probably getting fatigued and it's probably time to wrap up, because we don't want to risk any injury. Again, with isometrics, the injury is unlikely, but better to stay on the safe side. Always, I would say, like, as a general kind of guide, it depends on, like, if you're working on different areas of your body, if you kind of rotate between the different areas, and you'll have more rest for each part, and that will be helpful. But 2 to 3 sets, depending on the exercise. If you're doing like a 5-second hold, maybe 10 to 15 of them. Again, it's really going to depend on the body area. The larger the body area, the bigger the muscles, usually the more that can be done. Some of the smaller muscles may fatigue quicker. Again, it's very, very case dependent. It's hard to give a definite answer. But my best advice would be use your body as a guide. Usually if you're starting to get tired or have any sort of pain, start to wrap up there.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and a really good answer. And another way you can sort of check in as well is, say you go crazy on doing a whole bunch of them, notice what happens after too. So then you might have to scale it back or move it up. If you have more energy after, that's a good sign that that's a good amount. If you're feeling super fatigued after, maybe scale it back for a bit, things like that. So there's information during the process and afterwards as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, Leigh. Like, I always really encourage people, especially the first few sessions together, pay attention to how you feel after. So we know, did we do too much? Did we do too little? Can we do more? I think our trainers are really well versed in helping you, like, guide you through that process of figuring out what the right amount for you is.
Absolutely. And so now we have 27 trainers across the greater Toronto area. Nolly's expanding. We do have clients in different countries now, which is really fun. And even quite a few in the webinar here today from different countries as well. And so it's nice to have you all here, and all of you here from Canada as well, of course. Yeah. There's another question in the chat here. Will you do online exercises to do? We have a whole library of exercises on our YouTube channel and on our Instagram page. I don't know if they're on the next slide, Anna, the details there. But if you go to YouTube and you write Vintage Fitness, you'll be able to find everything. We have on our website as well, free resources galore, and including all our old webinars that we've done, full webinars on all topics related to seniors' health and wellness and fitness. And that's at vintagefitness.ca. And if you want to learn more about how to get a trainer or just gather information about whether it's right for you, that's the phone number there. If you call that number, you'll get Sid directly, who is on the call with us here today. And he'll find out all about you, and you can chat about the next plan for you. And we look forward to meeting you if we haven't yet met you. Well, thank you so much for coming today. And again, if you have any questions later, don't hesitate to reach out to us. It's nice to see all your faces. Thanks for spending the time with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. We'll see you next time. The next one is in January on posture.
Thank you, Leigh.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.